In my view, fundamental scarcity and geopolitical risk form the backdrop to today's discussion. Each day, the world consumes just shy of 86 million barrels of petroleum and refined petroleum products. The infrastructure that supplies this oil took nearly a century and a half and multiple trillions of dollars to evolve. In just the last 5 years, however, demand patterns have shifted dramatically. Since 2003, developed world oil consumption has remained essentially flat, while non-OECD demand has risen by approximately 18%. Simply put, the world's emerging economies have entered into their energy-hungry adolescence. I don't need to enumerate them here, but an unfortunate confluence of geopolitical risks threatens the stability of existing supply. This year's WTI futures price has averaged slightly more than $100 per barrel. As has been mentioned repeatedly, this is a significant premium to most fair estimates of extraction cost in the Gulf of Mexico and the Canadian tar sands. The dollar's decline against the euro and other currencies may be partly to blame. Producers may charge higher prices to compensate for value erosion. Increased speculative activity may play a small role as well, although speculators may also have more of an effect on the velocity of oil prices than their absolute levels. Speculators aren't the whole story. Commercial refiners of crude oil cannot operate their businesses without stable supply. They must bid up for oil at times of greatest perceived supply risk. In many commodity markets, this behavior can accelerate at capacity utilization levels above 90%. 3 million barrels of global spare capacity and 86 million barrels of daily demand puts the global oil system at about 96% of capacity. And yet, one well-conceived U.S. energy policy keeps refiners from engaging in bidding wars and hoarding oil, Strategic Petroleum Reserve. The SPR primarily does insure against the risk of a catastrophic supply interruption, but it provides other value too. Refiners assured of supply can operate at lower inventory and working capital levels. Assurance of supply, in the event of an emergency, can deter hoarding and gouging by market participants. To quantify the safety value of the SPR, you can talk in storage levels of barrels, but it might be better to express it in terms of the days of import coverage provided. That is the number of barrels of storage divided by the number of barrels the nation imports each day. Import cover has fallen from the 100-day range in 1990 to estimates, depending on how you count it, between 58, which I think we heard, and as high as 70, depending on what you think demand is. And there's a variety of reasons for this. Deterred investment at low prices, conventional basins declining, increased household wealth, transportation use rising as well. The suggestion I would make is that basing any fill decision on days of import cover rather than absolute supply level and using a thorough and ongoing assessment of supply risks might make it easier to determine fill rates and quantities, and also easier to communicate that message and the importance of that message to the American people. Now, my view is that markets can sometimes provide useful predictions of future events, especially markets as big, liquid, and broadly traded as the oil market. And one might interpret $117 or even $100 oil as a risk premium that says maybe supply is riskier than we think, and we should continue to fill the Spro. I realize that is not a popular view at this point in time. Suspending the fill may do little, however, to affect price as long as the emerging world drives oil demand. There are linkages worth noting. U.S. imports feed overseas manufacturing, chemicals, and logistics demand for oil. The wealth exporters earn selling into the U.S. stokes demand at home. Subsidies overseas make energy users less sensitive to price. 70,000 barrels per day might quickly be absorbed with little or no price effect. U.S. circumstances can affect demand and global price. A serious recession, hopefully this doesn't happen, here could decrease demand by 300 to 400,000 barrels per day, and an echo overseas in China alone could account for another 250,000 barrels per day in decline. Creating that surplus with a non-emergency drawdown could affect price, particularly the first time it occurs, and especially if it happens with little or no fanfare and surprises the market. On the other hand, the price effect might be very small relative to the social cost of effectively burning the nation's safety net in our gas tanks. Moreover, the price effect might be temporary, could be offset by demand growth, and OPEC cutbacks as well, and could even set commodity market expectations so that traders view the Spro as just another upstream oil supplier. Now, you can't run it full tilt for more than 5 months, as you know, and if you do, you're out of your safety net. Refiners have to buy more oil, and OPEC has more market power. So I think I would conclude by suggesting that there is risk that demand may start to soften of its own accord. There are also opportunities. One of these is that there is a real call now to build on the good work you did last year, the Energy Independence and Security Act, to add still greater standards. And when you make a cocktail, sometimes you marry two things that are bitter to come up with something sweet. And it's been suggested here today, the notion that you can marry increased domestic energy production, including biofuels, which are a very big part of it, with increased conservation, I think might be the drink that cools the summer driving season in years to come. Thank you very much. I look forward to your questions.
Thank you so much, and thank you for bringing what you learned at Tufts about cocktails and energy policy to this hearing to put together an excellent metaphor.